I had the voiceover guy. I'm the voice of Barney who does our voiceovers.
Uh-huh.
I had him do a intro that involves 3 guys trying to find personal happiness. And I may have used it once. I don't know. I just feel kind of lame putting it on there because I'm like, this is too earnest. My 90s teenager self just won't let me be that earnest.
We're pretty earnest, when you think about it.
3 developers, 1 mission. Build a business to nurture personal fulfillment. It's not stupid. It's FounderQuest.
The Badger Life was the title of the blog post I did too. That was kind of on this topic.
Oh, that's right.
Josh is the expert at
just
Badger Life.
looking at it.
We'll just have him talk the whole episode.
No.
Monologue.
I mean, you want to have an episode, right? So my talent is like just breaking the tension with dumb jokes.
Oh, I thought that was my talent.
Well, apparently we're in trouble because Ben's the only one who can actually like talk cohesively.
So Josh, what was your motivation for writing that blog post?
I think just kind of sharing our view of the world, and I think we found a certain level of success with this now, and it's been something that we've been it's a kick that we've been on for a while, and I think it's one of the reasons we started the business was we weren't really starting the business to have, I think, like as a carryover from the last episode. We didn't really start the business to be some sort of like, to get us a bunch of fame and power, anything like that. I mean, maybe Star might have.
Record scratch.
Maybe started. But yeah, I don't know. Like we always, I think like the book that I had read, and this is probably corny because like, yeah, I don't know if it's a like cliche at this point, but I remember like I had just read the 4-Hour Workweek and I was like, I want to start something that like, doesn't kill me and still makes a good living and all that sort of thing. And, helps me achieve my financial goals and stuff. And so, I wrote this blog post, I think it was like last year. I think it's been a little while since I wrote it, but I was just kind of talking about how we do things. Yeah. Wow. I think it was already a year ago since I wrote that.
Maybe
I was going to say it seems like a decade ago, but
yeah, I would guess 2 years ago.
That's just because I have a small child. So
I again, same here. So I don't have much of a concept of time at this point, but I have a feeling it wasn't as long as we're thinking, long ago as we're thinking.
Yeah, so the post was called Badger Life, and it sort of describes sort of how we work, the things we value as a company. And man, the response to this was amazing. Like people were getting in touch with me. They're like, how do I do this, Star? And I was like, I don't know, man, get lucky. Oh no, I just ruined the podcast. No, everything's going to unsubscribe now.
Gosh, Star.
I know.
Well, I know like when
Ben's the one who knows everything. I'm just along for the ride.
We had a few people mention that that when we were hiring, we've hired a few people recently after being a company of 3 for a long time, and we've had people tell us that through that hiring process that they had read this blog post, and it was one of the things that made them want to work with us.
So, a question for you, Josh: Are we a lifestyle business? Are we a lifestyle business?
I freaking hate the term, but I would say we probably are.
Wait, what?
I love the term. I will come out fully in favor of the term lifestyle business, and I will tell you why. Because for me, this business is about maximizing the lifestyle that I want to have. And I totally embrace the idea of creating a business or creating an environment, I guess even in a more general sense, creating the environment in which you want to live. I'm a big believer in the whole sphere of concern, sphere of influence thing. And if I can grow my sphere of influence to encompass the things that I'm really concerned about, if I can make my environment, my world, my universe exactly how I want it to be, boom, I'm all about that. Right.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with you there, Ben. Yeah, I just don't like the term and how, it gets thrown around in a lot of different ways online. I don't know. It's kind of like the term growth hacker to me. Like it's just one of those terms that people kind of throw at anything. And it's like, it's used like flippantly sometimes. Like, so are you guys kind of more of a lifestyle business? Like, implying that, you're not a real business, and it's probably, it's kind of like, is this a full-time thing for you?
Right.
Yeah, we're really like doing multi-level marketing.
It's kind of like a passive aggressive like jab.
Stay tuned, everybody, for a lovely segment about our essential oils that we're selling.
No,
and if you like those, I've got some candles for you.
I'm a big believer in embracing those terms. Like, I agree that term has been used in
Wait, are we taking it back?
What?
Are we taking it back? Are we taking back the word lifestyle business?
Yes, exactly. We're going to own it.
Okay.
You guys can't see this, but the look on Star's face is just pure joy right now.
No, I agree. It's been used in a lot of negative connotation. And I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. But I'm a believer in, like, you grab that by the horns, you just wrest control of that whole phrase, and you're like, I'm going to own this. I'm going to take it. It's mine, and I'm going to make it what I want it to be. So that's. I'm
on board with that. I'll take it back with you.
I'm on this train, Ben.
All right, excellent.
I'm 100% on board.
Some people may accurately say that I'm very opinionated, and I have very strong opinions, and some people might even say that I might be a know-it-all, but I don't think I'm a know-it-all. But
I would never say that.
But I do have very strong opinions about, like, my work and the way my life should be. And if I can have things my way, why not? Right? Now that has caused me some problems. Interpersonal relationships have suffered as a result of my headstrong nature. I can totally own that. At the same time, when I try to get things my way, and it actually works out my way, that makes me happy.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
So if we're taking it back, if we're redefining the phrase lifestyle business around us, like, what does that mean to us? Like, what is our brand of the lifestyle business?
To me, that's getting paid well to work on things that I enjoy doing, and providing service to a great group of people. Like, I really honestly believe in the whole service mentality, that we're here to serve our customers. And I care very deeply about developers, our chosen customer group, developers like us having a great daily experience with the tools that they have. And to me, like, the ideal is I get to do interesting things, interesting work, serving that community, and I get paid well doing it. Like, what more could I ask for?
A private airplane.
Oh yeah, the private jet.
Yeah. Was that from last episode, or was that this episode?
Well, if anybody wants to give me a private jet, I'll be happy to try that out and let you know how that lifestyle just goes up. Where would that put me on the treadmill? Like, if I got the private jet, what would I want next?
Spaceship. Obviously. I mean, look at all the billionaires now.
Yeah.
They all got spaceships.
That's true. I'll think about that. But really, like, owning that lifestyle business to me is about, okay, what to you makes, I don't know, I'm even just simple. It really comes down to me being happy, right? Like, we talked about in the last episode about that sandwich shop and how they would be happy, like, not having 30% growth, as long as they're having, people coming in the door every day, getting their sandwiches, and they're in that business for 20 years, they're happy. That's cool. That wouldn't make me happy, because that's not what I'm interested in doing. But if I can make my business configured to my happiness, like, I was the kind of person when I worked for other people before I was unemployable as a founder, I would always have opinions about how things should be. Like, I would see how my boss was doing it, or my boss was doing this or that, the other thing. And now I think I could do that better, right? Or I have a different idea. And no one was asking me, probably wisely. But I always had my ideas about how things could be better, in my opinion anyway, right? And so when I founded my own company, then I got to, like, do that, right? I could say, hey, I think it should be done this way. And then I did it that way. And I got to find out, one way or the other, if it actually was better, right? So I think, to me, a lifestyle business, for someone who is a person that has strong opinions about how things should be, a lifestyle business is a business where I get to choose everything about how I work. Like, I get to choose who I work with. I have awesome co-founders. I get to choose the technologies I work with. I have, I love Ruby and I love Linux, and I have built our stack around those things. And, I love just working with developers. And so I chose them as a customer. I don't know. I guess I'm all about optimizing my happiness.
Yeah. Is there a little bit of like rich or king in there too? Is that what it is? Where you want to be king?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about this before. Somebody was like, "Do you want to be rich or do you want to be the king?"
Yeah. I think it was Jason. Was it Jason Cohen?
Yep.
That wrote about that originally. Yeah. I mean, we want to be rich and king, but I mean, rich is kind of relative. So
yeah.
So how does this work? Do we each have like our own kingdom? Am I like king of the north?
Oh, I like that.
We've talked about this since we kind of like, we're a little different, and then in that we don't like collaboration at Honey Badger. We like our silos. We talked about that before. And I think we just need to take this one step further and each have like our own factions. Like Ben has his horde, like or gangs. Whatever, or I have my horde. Like I typically work with like a lot of contractors and stuff on, our open source libraries and things. So, like those can be, that's like my horde of open source developers. And Ben can have some, he can have Ben Finley and Kevin, kind of his like, so we need to get Star.
I think Star gets the dragons.
The dragons.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice.
I might go with puppies instead. They're cuter. I don't really want to like.
Star just has the puppies.
I hear bad things happen to that woman with the dragons, so I don't really want to go that route.
I have an admission to make. I haven't watched any of those.
Like, oh yeah, I haven't watched them since like 3 seasons ago.
I don't even know what it's about.
Are we talking about Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
Breaking Bad. We're talking about
I have watched Breaking Bad. I'll tell you one thing though. The Badger life for me is not so that I can binge watch Game of Thrones in my free time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've felt strongly about, like my entire career, was not overworking. Like not work. I was never into overtime. Like I would go into a job interview, and after I was reasonably sure that they were interested in hiring me, like I wouldn't lead out with this, but later on in the conversation, I would say, "There's something you need to know about me. I'm not going to work more than 40 hours in a week." And, for some people, that's a turn off. They're like, well, we expect you to work 60 hours a week. So goodbye.
Where's your passion? Where's your passion, Ben?
Yeah, well, I don't know. My passion is not for working overtime, I guess.
Don't you want to change the world?
Yes. My world in my way.
Oh, nice comeback.
Yeah, thanks. But so that was a big deal to me, like that we created an environment where that's not an expectation. And honestly, I think the whole 40-hour work week is outdated. The idea that
Amen.
You're in a factory and that's the maximum you could work, great. The idea that you are a thought worker or a developer or some sort of person that uses their brain all day long and you have to work at least 40 hours a week, I think that's old news. I just don't think that works. There are days when I can work 8 hours, 10 hours, boom, and have a lot of productivity, but those are rare. I'd say much more often, I have a good solid 4 hours of intense, deep, productive thinking time, maybe 6 hours. And then I'm done. Like my brain's like, okay, you're done. You're going to go think about something random, or, you can do some random tasks, maybe some things that are useful and necessary, but you're not doing that hard work of, writing some awesome code or whatever, solving those deep problems. Not 8 hours a day every day. No, sir.
Yeah. So for our recent job posting and hiring thing, we list like a 30-hour work week.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's an approximation because there are some weeks when you're really into it, right? And you can do those 8-10 hour bursts and you're like, yeah, this is awesome. But that's not sustainable long term. And so I think overall, it's more reasonable to expect a 30-ish hour work week.
So question, actual business question. I don't think we put that in our job posting for the marketing position. Did we ever tell Ben Finley? I hope he doesn't expect that he has to work more than Kevin.
the rest of us.
Yeah.
Maybe someone should mention that to him.
Well, we didn't actually have a job posting for the marketing thing. That just happened.
Yeah. We're kind of learning.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And no, he's taking advantage of that non 40-hour work week for sure.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Good.
Yeah. Or at least if he wasn't before hearing this episode, he's doing it now.
Yeah, I think for me, like I want to be able to work when I want and when I'm productive. So like kind of like you were saying, like being like it's just dumb to work when you're spent. And like a lot of times if I go and do something else or switch, go do something else I like to do that maybe I'm fresh for, I'll come back and it'll, something will hit me during that or, later in the day. And then maybe I'll have energy to go and work a little bit more or something. But I don't have to.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, like if I just don't feel like working, if it's just like, if it's not in me today for some reason, like, then again, it's dumb to sit there and try to, struggle through it when you're not going to produce your best work anyway. And you could use that time to enjoy something, something else. So
totally.
Yeah, there's a few things I hate more in life than being at a point where I can't do any more like decent work, but having to sit in a chair and pretend like I'm working for another, 2 hours or whatever until the it's 5 o'clock and time to go home.
Yeah.
Like, God, I hate that. That's just,
if I do that over an extended period, it's just, I think that's like what tends to lead to like burnout for me, where I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah. So, talking about burnout, I'm doing a very like clever, like smooth seg into burnout.
And I was setting you up for that because I knew you wanted to go there, Star. So
thank you. I don't know if we'll leave this in.
We're both real smooth right now.
Yeah, it's because you got that new microphone. I can't wait to hear what it sounds like on the high quality.
I can too. Yeah, I want to see if
you're going to be getting all the fan mail, Josh.
Yeah,
it's like, who's that smooth voice man? Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about burnout recently. There was a big sort of discussion on Twitter. Lots of people sharing their stories about burnout, and developers. It seems like developers tend to experience burnout more frequently than other industries. Like, I hear about burnout a lot more when talking to developers and when talking to people who have sort of normal, jobs. Is that just because developers are expected to have this sort of like all-in passion for the project, or is it just, I don't know?
That's a good question. I wonder if it's like, I think the whole like thought worker thing might come into this, because I think like there's some jobs that you can kind of just do repetitively. Like, I don't know, I could go dig ditches for 8 hours a day and like physical activity and just like routines and stuff and do that for a long time. And I'm not expecting, I'm not expecting to like move the needle on how good of a ditch digger I am or something. And that would be fine. Like, I like routines, so I could get into a routine. It's not the ideal thing, and that's obviously why I'm not doing that. But like, if I'm doing more of like a creative or I don't know, like a problem solving type thing, I feel like I start to get really like mentally worn out after a while. And it's hard to describe, but like over time that can kind of build up and lead to a lot of like doubt, like self-doubt and just tiredness. And
And one interesting thing I've noticed from our own discussion sort of in the company is that it seems like when and I think this is common amongst developers, but it seems like when we are personally feeling burned out, like one of the most clear options on the table, one of the things that we gravitate towards is doing more work, like doing more projects and taking on more. What's up with that?
I think part of that is the and maybe part of why you feel you see burnout as an issue more with software developers and perhaps other groups of people is there is this infinite backlog of work, right? Every software organization I've been in, including Honey Badger, has a backlog of work that could really just take a really long time to get through. And that even if you clear through that backlog, while you're doing that, more backlog is going to show up, right? More feature requests are going to come in, or, things will change that you have to update, whatever.
Yeah.
There's always going to be more work. And so I know for me, like, I'm feeling like I've got to get this thing done. And sometimes not in our case, we don't have external deadlines. We don't have, project managers telling us that we have to launch on a certain date. But I know in a lot of software companies, that is a thing where it's, we have this deadline, we have to meet this deadline, we have to do the death march.
But we've got ourselves.
Yeah, we push ourselves, quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem is versus the ditch digger. Like when you're digging that ditch, once
there's a ditch right in front of you, it just goes forever. That's the nice thing about digging ditches. I was going to say that.
So I think that's part of the problem. Like we feel like if I can just get ahead and I could just get this crunch done or whatever, but in reality, the backlog is infinite. And at some point, you feel like it just
becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why people want to move to new projects, because in a new project, there's no backlog. There's no, there may be deadlines, but there's not an overwhelming amount of stuff like pressing at you from all sides.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like freedom. And I mean, I guess it's even there in the words we use to describe it, because we call new projects like greenfield projects.
Yeah. What about I haven't I haven't spent a whole lot of time as a career software, actually employed moving from company to company, but I hear that's, software developers change jobs a lot. And I imagine to some extent, it's not greenfield, but going into a new company, you're not familiar with their backlog yet. And you haven't personally taken personal responsibility for any of it. So I could see how that's, there's probably a little bit of that greenfield feeling.
Yep.
Going to a new job as well, as what you were just talking about, Star, with a greenfield project.
That's a good point.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, and I think among all my developer friends, I may have been at my job the longest, by far. So
yeah, it's rare for people in our segment of the industry, startups, small startup businesses, and so on, to be in one position for several years. And I think these issues are definitely at play there. It's taken me a while to really convince myself, telling myself, look, you know what? There's always going to be more work to do. As soon as you finish this thing, there's going to be another thing. Yeah. And it'll still be there tomorrow. You can go ahead, you can shut down the laptop, and you can go do something else, and you can come back to work tomorrow and keep working on it.
See, I think my career skill could be just to create backlogs. And so if I could just start at, I work at Honey Badger, I just make this awesome backlog, and then just move to a new job that doesn't have a backlog yet. I could do the same thing for them.
I mean, isn't that kind of what a PM does?
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly the job description.
Are you saying I'm a PM? I'm not actually a developer. I'm a PM.
Right.
I know. I've got to confess something to you guys, right? This is a little bit disturbing for me to realize. But we had recently some talks about maybe doing a new product and stuff like that. And honest to God, the thing that was making me the most excited about it was writing the spec for it. I was just like, oh no.
It's happening.
Oh no,
Star.
what if I'm turning into a manager? What? Oh no, but I'm not managing anybody. But it's still happening. And
it's okay, Star. I've been there. I've done that. It's totally fine. There's a lot.
I mean, this is partly why we built this freedom into the business, so that we can all go work on specs for products that may or may not happen, and that can be fulfilling in itself.
Yeah. Maybe it seems nice because it's the only time where I would actually fully understand the thing. Because once it's built, it's too big and you can only really understand a part of it at once. And
well, writing a spec is a very creative process, right? You have an infinite number of possibilities in front of you, and you're formulating something out of nothing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like writing specs too. So yeah. Well, I don't know. I've been the past couple of weeks I've been working through my backlog of GitHub issues that have been assigned to me for way too long. And some of the way I got through that was just unassigning them. And some of the way was actually doing some work. Yeah, but I can say that after having gotten through a lot of them, not having those nagging at my in my subconscious is a little bit freeing. But I think a key for me is to kind of limit my exposure to the backlog. at anyone or any given moment, and try to have like a more focused, try to focus my efforts in like on a small number of things I'm trying to accomplish, and just let the backlog exist down there wherever it lives.
Yeah, I agree. I have a very hard time personally dealing with lots of things happening at once. And so my experience of our backlog of issues is kind of like that. There's like 1,000 things all, yelling at me like, Star, fix me. And that's hard for me to deal with. And so I tend to kind of almost to excess sometimes, try and push away extraneous things and just like work on a single thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully for, a week or two. So once, so do you guys have any any techniques? Like, how do you deal with burnout, or how do you prevent burnout in yourself? Have you noticed anything interesting, like in your own work lives?
I've definitely had some burnout over the last couple of years, and at least been seeing maybe it's more like seeing that I could go there, and trying to not go there. So usually when I start feeling like overwhelmed, or if I'm getting to that place, like I just have to stop working for a while. Maybe it's a couple days. Maybe it's just going on vacation. I'm probably getting pretty close to that point right now, to be honest. Like it's about time for a vacation. But I think like just like actually taking time off and not having to, like, if you don't feel like you're stuck and that you just can't, you got to keep trying, and you can't kind of just reset or whatever. That makes it a lot worse for me. So yeah, I don't know. Like, we've been pretty good lately about taking time off. Like, we took almost the entire month of December off last year, and I took off a month. I think I actually took off. I was out like 2 months last year because of December, and then we had our second kid. So yeah, I did pretty good last year, but still, like, I'm finding like I need to take that time in order to maintain sanity.
Yeah, similar. I've had times of burnout during the past few years, and those times, looking back, tend to come when I'm feeling very stressed about getting something done soon. Like, something is broken, or something is kind of broken, and I know what the solution is, and it takes, a lot of work to get that solution. And I just got to power through it. And so the times when I let myself just get buried in that kind of work tends to contribute to feelings of burnout. And then as far as solving it, I found that I know my body is telling me, or my mind is telling me, when it's time to take a break. Like, it's like, I start thinking about maybe it's time for a vacation. And when I start having those thoughts, it's time to take a vacation. And if I don't, then I'm going to get increasingly more burned out. If I just try to push through it, it just doesn't work. It just makes it worse. And so, and a vacation for me doesn't have to be 2 weeks in Hawaii that a lot of people often think about. Like, that's really not a great vacation for me. I don't like being idle. I don't like doing nothing. So for me, like, a vacation is I maybe take a Thursday and a Friday off in addition to the normal weekend, right? And that Thursday and Friday, I go work in my yard, or I go for a long bike ride, or, usually stuff around the house. Maybe I go for a long drive and go see something different. It's not going to Iceland, for example. So just taking that time and really being conscientious about not thinking about work. Like, every time, because work comes back in, like, that's just, it happens to me. Like, I think about it all the time. And so I have to actually actively, I guess it's like the behavioral therapy, the cognitive behavioral therapy, where I actively, it's like, okay, you're thinking about work, stop thinking about work, put that aside, put it in the box, and you'll be able to come back to that on Monday. Right. Yeah.
So I actually do like Hawaii. But I like it because one, I like the weather and the tropics and all that, but, I like to go, if I go on vacation, I like to go somewhere where I'm not like attached to work, where we're not like, there's not like an agenda or a structure to it. Like, I don't like going on vacations where you like feel forced, like you have to be making the best of it or something, or like making the most of, sightseeing or something like that. Like I don't do tourism, so really like not well anyway. So when I go on vacation though, I totally like, I don't like being idle either. So I totally make like, I have personal goals and things I want to do and all that sort of thing, but it's just not work related. I spend most of like, I love to read on vacation. Like I just like go and just like, churn through books basically. That plus like active things, like you like bike riding, like, you can just give yourself a schedule of like reading books and bike riding. And that would be
totally.
Like, that's my vacation right there.
That's awesome.
So yeah. And then the other rule is just like to get away from like, if you're, sitting on the couch or something, you're going to want to like pick up the laptop and look at Slack or whatever. Is just don't bring the laptop, or just bring it, but leave it in the, leave it under the bed or something. I try not to even turn it on unless, obviously like we'd have if we're on call or something, like, you might want to bring it for that reason. But that's what your, SMS is for. So SMS works most places in the world, and you can kind of just leave the laptop under the bed. And I've gone on vacations where I literally just never even turned it on, like powered it on. It's been there as kind of a safety net, but yeah, doesn't have to consume you.
Yeah, those are all good points. And I just wanted to add that, I think it's really important that I think in general, developers are probably terrible at this. You have to, like, vacations are great and stuff, but that's a way to respond to something once it's happened, right? It's a way to put out the fire, and maybe you can keep the fire from starting for longer or something. And so I think it's really important to, take time in your day, for self-care, because maybe vacations aren't possible. Maybe you don't have your own business and you can be like, I'm heading out next week. See ya. And like, maybe you'll get fired if you do that. But it's possible to sort of check in on yourself on a daily basis, to, do self-care, to take some time for yourself to like work through your, whatever feelings you're having and stuff like that. And, I think that's very important too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons, back to the Badger Life thing, one of the reasons that we've designed things like they are, and over time we've been trying to make it more, automate more systems and make it easier for us to take vacations and be outside of the business, is so that we do have the opportunity to kind of use that sort of time, like use vacations as more preventative versus, I forget how you put it, but as a response to a crisis that you're already having. So like Ben was saying, like you said, you kind of like, you take the vacation when you see the kind of the symptoms of the end result, which would be burnout. So like if you're starting to feel like, man, I really wish I could take a break, go take one, because we set the company that way, or we set up the company that way.
Yeah, that's great. I just say not everybody lives a Badger life.
Right. No. So, yeah. But I mean, we're kind of like saying like, this is the new way. Like, this is the way people should live.
Yeah. Well, before,
right. I mean, that's kind of what we're saying.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but some people can. They'll get fired if they try.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you, Star. Like, it's nice to give practical advice for people who don't have the,
Yeah. So here's a suggestion. If you're in a situation where you don't have that flexibility, at a company that I worked for several years ago, it was a consulting company. We did software development, and our primary client was Microsoft. And at the time, Microsoft had a reputation for being very hard driving with their contractors. And so we were under a lot of time pressure all the time. And one thing that I learned from that situation, the owner of our company actually had a policy in place. It was called mental health days. And it was the idea, a lot of people are familiar with this. This is not like new stuff, but it's a small thing that you can add to your organization if you don't have it, or something you can advocate for. And that is, you don't have to take a sick day. You don't have to take a vacation. You can just take a mental health day, right? We had the flexibility to say to our boss, look, you know what, I got to take a break. Tomorrow I need to take a day. And like that was always okay. And, people didn't abuse it or else it wouldn't have been okay for long. But it was really helpful to have that release valve and to say, I just need a small break today and I'm going to take it. Right. And that was great. And that really helped alleviate a lot of the pressure that we had in that environment.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that can also be kind of a way to because it's, I think like for a lot of like more typical employee situations, like it's harder to signal, like if you're having a hard time, it's hard to signal like to people that's, that you are, right? Because it's a little bit stigmatized. And if there's no like system for dealing with it in place, you feel like, what do I do? Like there's not really anything you can do where you don't feel like you're putting you're putting the rest of your coworkers out or whatever. At least that's how I assume it would feel. Star, what kinds of things do you have any like specific things that you think are good to do on a daily basis versus like taking large chunks of time away? Like what's the more like routine maintenance, like daily stuff that people can do or that works for you?
Yeah, I guess it just depends on like your individual situation, right? But I think taking some time, try and practice some mindfulness, maybe try and take some time to think through your day. Try and do whatever makes, like, burnout to me is like exposure to stress for too long, right? You don't necessarily have to be working 80 hours a week to get burned out. You could work 20 hours a week and get burned out if those 20 hours are extremely stressful. And so pretty much anything that will reduce your perception of that stress, I think is very useful. And, it's just going to vary depending on your circumstances and all that.
DHH said an interesting thing in his RailsConf talk when he was talking about how he kind of got burnt out working on Basecamp at one point. And I think as I recall, it was like, right, it was before they had decided to build version 3. Yeah. And he said that, in like 37 Signals, like there at the time, like, and well, really all along, it's always been like this sustainable, like they kind of started this like sustainable work movement. So it's weird for, like the CTO to be having burnout, and if he's, living this dream life in this, this low pressure organization. But I think his point was like, it wasn't because he was working too hard. It was because he was not working on the right things, and he wasn't feeling fulfilled in like what he was doing. Like I assume like he was just looking at this backlog, like we've been talking about, like it's just nothing is really, doing it for you. Like, so it's not necessarily about overworking. It could also just be about like not being creatively engaged or just not being fulfilled in the work that you are doing. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Like feeling that the work that you are doing doesn't make any difference. Or it doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of, it's a similar thing to the whole infinite backlog, right? Like, what does it matter if I fix this bug because there's just 1,000 more bugs to fix? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the phrase that I remember from that keynote was, it wasn't that he was overworked, it's that he was underpurposed. He didn't feel it. Yeah, he had enough purpose. Yeah, that's good. Underpurposed. Josh, you reminded me when you asked Star about those daily maintenance things. One thing I learned from Star a few years ago was go take a walk. Like I remember seeing in our Slack, Star be like, "I'm going for a walk," and I'm looking at the clock and it's like, I don't know, 12:30 or whatever. It's just some random time. Like it doesn't matter when it was, but I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Like, and he comes back and he's ready to do some more work, and I'm like, I'm gonna try that. And so I started doing more walks, and that's good stuff. Highly recommend walks, man. My problem is that I go for the walk and then I just don't want to come back. Oh, okay. Like I just want to keep walking. Then keep walking. Well, it helps to have like a set walk, like you're walking along a path, and then you get back to your car or whatever, your house. I have a couple good loops from my house that I like to take, which end up bringing me back eventually. Yeah. Well, I think we may be coming up on time. Okay with you guys if we wrap up? Sure. Yeah. Wouldn't want to burn ourselves out. No. On podcasting.
God, I'm so sick of podcasting, guys.
We want to be doing this for a while, right?
Yeah, we're gonna, I don't know, man. You got to feed the beast. It's one a week. The people demand their FounderQuest. If they don't get it, I don't even want to know what's going to happen. You know, pitchforks, torches, probably.
Be scary.
I mean, we've been doing pretty well so far. And actually, we're recording another doubleheader or whatever today. So, yeah. I think
well, as always, it's been great talking to you guys, and we'll see you later.
All right.
What's something I can say? I'm running out of
tune in again next week.
I could go through
save that channel.
In the spirit of Badger Life, I could repeat our some of the core values that we had outlined in the article that we mentioned earlier, which I think for me kind of summarizes like how we do things. And that is that these are kind of in order of significance. Family is more important than work. Health is more important than success, and financial independence is more important than being rich.
Love it.
What a great sentiment to end on. And, you know, I've got to ask, are we too legit to quit? I don't think so. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That was good. That's
okay.
good. We got to start dropping this too legit thing so we can finally get that shirt done.
Right. Yep.
Oh yeah, we have too legit to ship.
Yeah.
The shirt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was great talking to you guys, and I'll catch you next time.
All right.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Okay. Bye.
FounderQuest is a weekly podcast by the founders of Honey Badger. Zero instrumentation, 360-degree coverage of errors, outages, and service degradations for your web apps. If you have a web app, you need it. Available at honeybadger.io. Want more from the founders? Go to FounderQuestPodcast.com. That's one word. You can access our huge back catalog or sign up for our newsletter to get exclusive VIP content. FounderQuest is available on iTunes, Spotify, and other purveyors of fine podcasts. We'll see you next week.